My name is Jack Mandelbaum. I am from Poland, which is in Central Europe. My city is called Gdynia, which is on the Baltic Sea in the far northern part of Poland, not far from the German border.
I was 12 years old in 1939 when the Nazis invaded my country. I am Jewish, but my family is not particularly religious, and I actually don't know that much about my religion. We lived in the city of Gdynia and dressed no differently than our mostly Catholic neighbors.
Hitler's army invaded Poland very fast. It was called the Blitzkrieg. Our country put up very little resistance, and we were soon under Nazi control. 2 weeks after Hitler took over Poland, my father, a well-to-do businessman, was sent to a concentration camp.
My mother, brother, and sister went deep into the countryside to live with relatives. For the next 3 years, I supported them by the pennies I earned substituting for Jewish men ordered to do forced labor by the Nazis. But at age 15, I was separated from my family and sent to the first of a series of concentration camps. I ended up in a labor camp called Blachhammer, and it was near a camp you have probably heard of called Auschwitz.
Thrown into this dark new world, I was determined to survive. However, it was horrible. Imagine urinating in the same cup you eat in. Imagine fleas crawling all over you and sick people coughing on you. Imagine stocky soldiers patrolling the roads with dogs. Imagine men kicking individuals and the hate in their eyes as they did it. Anyone not healthy enough to work as a slave was sent to Auschwitz to be murdered. This happened all the time. That is the lifestyle the concentration camp prisoners had to go through. Most did not survive.
I learned to tolerate the horrible food, the back-breaking work, and the brutal living conditions. What was the secret to surviving the death camps? How did I keep from dying in a place of broken hearts and broken bodies? Think of it as a game, Jack, an older prisoner told me. Play the game right, and you might outlast the Nazis. I learned to think of my imprisonment as a game and to not take personally what was happening to me. I also resolved not to hate my captors and vowed to see my family again. In the midst of this intolerable life, I forged friendships and helped others, determined to survive this nightmare created by Hitler and his willing minions. My friend Moniak and I devised schemes to trick the Nazis in order to get more food for ourselves and our friends. We were lucky when the cooks got sick and we were assigned to the kitchen. In the kitchen, we were able to steal little bits of extra food. We even shaved large chunks off the potatoes and then kept the peelings for our friends to eat. Once, Moniak tricked the guards into going outside, and I smuggled extra bread out in my wash bucket.
In 1945, the Germans were clearly losing the war. The Russians were approaching from the east and the Allies from the west. The Germans ordered a forced evacuation of Blachhammer. They gave us 800 grams of bread, and we began the 11-day death march. My friend Monik and I almost fell behind, but we somehow found the inner strength to push ahead and stay with the group of marching prisoners. 800 prisoners who were not able to walk or tried to flee were shot. We were then transported to Buchenwald concentration camp, and, even though the Germans were losing the war, we were not liberated for over 3 months. That was 7 days after Hitler committed suicide. After Hitler killed himself, the guards were still cruel, but they were not as strict with the food rations. Before, everyone just hoped for the slightest piece of bread or potato. Now, every prisoner tried to get the biggest piece. On May 7th, we were liberated by the American army.
At At age 18, I was liberated by the Americans. My family was gone, dead, and Europe was in ruins. I decided to build a new life in America. Today, I am a successful businessman, a loving husband, father, and grandfather. I am also devoted to Holocaust education.